Sit!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerd Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
And we are talking sells. That's right. You know, it's Dynasty Hot Boy Summer. What are we doing? We're just talking some Dynasty, and buy-in, selling. We always do these shows. Like we do them like every 6 months, right around there. Like who to buy, who to sell. That's where those windows kind of open up. Even though ADP's kind of leveled out a little bit, there's always these opportunities to buy and sell. And of course, when you're buying, when you're selling, it's all dependent on where your team is, right? Like where are you? Obviously, certain players not selling if you're contending, or they're you just can't get the fair value on them. But we have some suggestions here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about some sells. We have some Scott Fishbowl entries to give away.
Ooh. We do.
Yeah, if you don't know about the Scott Fishbowl, it's a great way. It's a great kind of giant charity game. It's usually like 5,000 something players. Everybody.
It grows every year, right?
It grows every year. Anybody you possibly know in the business is in it, and then you have all the fans, and you're trying to be number one. It's a really good scoring format.
I made it to the semis last year. I didn't quite make the finals. I just missed.
Ooh, just missed.
Such an achievement, though, just to get there.
I felt good because it was like the top like 150 people or something like that. I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. But
I've made the finals.
you did make the finals. Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
like 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I ended up coming in like 7th, which is pretty good out of like
That's
5,000 people. It's pretty
incredible.
good. And I woke up thinking I was going to win. I was like, dude, my
The
team's
Monday
the
Night Football.
best. And then I lost. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow went off that year.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, so listen, it's a real hard contest to get into. Tons of people want to get in, and we have about 5, let's call it 5 entries to give away, somewhere around there. 5. So tune into the middle show when we do our like little ad reads. We'll tell you how to win that opportunity. Shout out to all the homies who've left a rating review on iTunes.
Did we get there?
We're close. We're 14 away from 2,000.
Oh, come on now, people. Let's make Rich's day. Everyone out there, please.
14.
We just need 14 of you guys.
I mean, if you're listening to your kids, probably on a phone.
gals.
Borrow your
Yeah,
kid's phone.
exactly.
And leave a rating review.
I was like, dude, you're going to say Rich is handsome. 2 people. Rich is
Did
handsome.
Rich is handsome.
Rich is handsome. No lies detected.
I was showing my friend at the baseball game here. I was like, you want to see something that's awesome? Look at this. Prove him wrong.
Totally unsolicited.
Totally unsolicited.
I was
Of
like,
course.
2 people randomly just put
Just
this out
so
here.
crazy.
So weird.
I was like, yeah, so we're doing YouTube now. It's kind of a thing. Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to them. 14 more people. We're at 1,900 in. Oh, actually, it's 88. I think it's 12 people.
12 people? Okay.
Yeah. So we're like 1988. Like we're like close to like past my birth. We got 1979. I was like, oh, dude, now we're in my birth years. You know, these
There we
numbers
go.
are familiar.
1990, that was when I was born.
Come on, let's get to Garrett's birth year. Birth year.
Birth year?
Yeah.
Birth year?
Say that real fast.
Year?
Birth year.
Birth year. Birth year.
Yeah.
Is
Birth
there-
year.
is your ear different
These are
when
my
it's
birth
born?
ears. How about you guys?
Bigger versions.
Well, mine are bigger than most, but God
Better
loves me just the
to
same.
hear you with, my dear. Isn't
Yeah,
that
yeah, sure. Yeah, it worked real well in elementary school. Too.
Yeah.
Oh, these are just better to hear with you with. Like, pipe down, Dumbo. Good old days. Good old schoolyard
days.
bullies, right? Come here and pinch your nipples. Well, I like that.
Dude, and we already got off to purple nurples.
Well, we haven't been in together as
I
much
know,
lately, so it doesn't go
All right.
off the rails quicker.
So tune in halfway. We'll tell you how to do it.
Dad, what's a purple nurple?
Let me show you here. They squeal with joy.
No.
You don't know?
No.
I would. I don't know. Practice. Come over.
No.
Squeeze me. So let's just dive into some of these sells so we can get to that Scott Fishbowl giveaway. So number one. Dude, I'm just thinking about
Doing great.
things. All right, so the top guy on my list here as a sell is, now remember, Dynasty, sometimes you can say sell a guy because it's just value, and you just want to see if you can capitalize on it.
Yeah, sometimes it's you don't like the player. Sometimes it's you like the player, but this is the top you're going to see them as far as value.
So this guy I actually like a lot. It's DeVonta Smith. of the Eagles. You know, he's a fantastic football player.
Yeah.
Love the guy sticks. You know, 3,000-yard seasons, Heisman Trophy winner, Super Bowl champion, and one of the purest route runners in the league, right? He is smooth as it can come. But the big problem I have with him is, okay, not even a big problem. First is there's really no problem with DeVonta Smith because his ADP right now is coming in right around wide receiver 26, like 76 overall. So
He's that low, huh? Wow.
Yeah. So and now
It's about to shoot up, though.
Yeah, I'm saying that's last month's ADP. I'm talking about sell like this window now with the AJ Brown news. Like people are gonna be like, oh wow, DeVonta Smith finally the guy. He's 27 years old, so he's getting a little bit older. Like he's gonna be the number one guy. And I want to try and sell him in that kind of window. Like, I'm not giving him away. Like, I actually value him closer to, like, wide receiver, like, probably the 20th window, like, right around there. I'm just wondering, like, this will open the door for, like, a 27 first is what it's opening, is what I'm wondering.
I think for sure it would.
So that's where, like, I am looking to move. Because when you look at that, I mean, when you look historically at the data for a guy like DeVonta Smith, who weighs 170 pounds. And, you know, we've seen him at his medical combine come in as low as 166. The blueprint for those receivers under like 170 pounds, like they're just not dominant X receivers, right? Like he'll win route running, he'll get separation, he'll do that. But for him to be a true dominant X receiver, he just doesn't have that body type to be that kind of player. So like he's almost like, you know, like an all-star Cole Beasley, right? And this is not like to diminish DeVonta Smith because he did have that one his
He
season.
did sneak in as a top 12 guy in his second year.
2022. Yeah, he had 110 catches, 1,393 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And he came in as a low-end wide receiver 1, I think, that year. Mm-hmm. But now he's 27 years old. He's in a new offense, kind of trying to find its identity. And when you look at that environment with A.J. Brown leaving, and you're like, oh, all these targets are up for grabs. But you have Saquon Barkley, who's going to come in. They're going to run an outside zone scheme, which should help Saquon Barkley, who I think is actually probably the biggest winner in this offense, will probably have a rebound to another really good dominant year. Barkley this year I could see having. I think his 33 catches are up for grab. You have Dallas Goedert signed back. He's coming off 11 touchdowns, 60 catch campaign. You have Mekhi Lemon in the first. You trade for Dontavian Wicks. You take Eli Stowers, who's another big wide receiver in the second round of the offense. There is a lot of targets to go around for a diversified route tree there. So
did I miss it? Did you say Mekhi Lemon too?
Yeah, Mekhi Lemon first,
all right,
is what I said.
Okay.
So when you look at like sometimes when those guys were like, because I got real excited too about like, ooh, DeVonta Smith in number one role. And I was thinking about this, like, man, dude, like, how does DeVonta win as a true X, like, to be dominant offense? Like, does he go back to 2022 and does that prevail and he's a low end wide receiver 1? Maybe, or is he closer like Marvin Jones when Marvin Jones was awesome as a number 2 in Detroit, and he goes to Jacksonville and signs to be the number 1, and it doesn't really work out for him, who's also a really good runner. I think
Juju kind of was that way too, like was awesome when he was the number 2 to Antonio Brown, but then as a 1, like, just didn't quite pan out.
Yeah, I mean, I was using Marvin Jones, like he was like $190, I think. So still 20 pounds heavier. So I'm just wondering if like DeVonta Smith can be the true number 1 that he can, and maybe he can. He's still 27, so he's about to enter that 28 down slope. I mean, you wouldn't call it down slope, but the peak of his value.
He's hitting the peak of his value for sure. It's at 27, almost 28 years old.
So for me, this is like a window. Like opportunity, like, dude, does this really propel him with the AJ Brown news over the next month or so to develop into a 27 first, where we know that class is going to be really deep? Hey, can I get a talent that's much younger, but not even just like a talented draft wise? Like, what can I do with that 27 first later to get a better proven receiver?
Yeah, no, and I think the important part about this whole thing is there are some people that are going to be thinking like you, right? And there's some people that are going to be thinking this is his opportunity.
Yeah.
So that makes him somebody that I think there's going to be a lot of movement, right, with him, because there's going to be enough people that are like, they look at that frame, they look at 170 pounds, and they go, and there's already enough chatter out there about his size and how that's going to translate it as a number 1 option in an offense, that there's going to be people that automatically doubt it. And those are the people that are going to be like kind of flying out right now and putting him on the trade block and seeing what's available, right? And there's on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's going to be contenders that are sitting out there going, give me a piece of this. This guy, he already produced at a pretty good level when he was the number 2 here. And now that he's got the number 1 now that he's the number 1 option in this offense, theoretically, he's going to do really, really well. And he's going to outperform anything I ever paid for.
If he's the number 1, if he's number 2, like
Right.
we look at him last year, right? Last year he comes in, averaged 11.9 PPR points per game. That's his lowest since his rookie season. I think when he was wide receiver 29 that year. And for me, he only scored 4 touchdowns last year. And I think touchdowns are another big hindrance to his game due to his size.
Yeah,
Right?
he's
Like,
not an elite red zone threat. He's not 6'4". He's not 210 pounds. The things that kind of help there, he just doesn't have.
and we know going to last year.
Not to mention Jalen Hurts still stealing stuff. I mean,
Right.
to a lesser degree last year, right? I feel like they kind of phased that out a little bit as far as the tush push.
They didn't do it as frequently.
Yeah,
but-
They
it
started
wasn't quite
scheming
as
for
prevalent.
Dallas Goedert in the red zone. And so
Correct.
you got a big weapon like a guy like Eli Stowers. You have Saquon Barkley there. If he's going to sit around that 4 touchdown range, that's going to really leave him closer to that low end wide receiver 2, maybe high end wide receiver 3, which is what he was last year at wide receiver 29. And those guys are just obtainable, right? You can
Right.
find those guys. Definitely the older guys that are producing at that level.
And I think there's 2 things that I think about with this. One, I think the assumption is that DeVonta Smith just steps in and takes over the target workload that A.J. Brown has had over the past few years. And who's to say, I'm not saying this will happen, but who's to say it's not Mekhi Lemon that does that, or it's more evenly spread around between all of the pieces, or
It's more likely that it's Mekhi Lemon and Stowers both kind of filling
Sure.
that void at this point.
So that's the
And they
thing.
traded for Dontavious
are we
Or
expecting-
Dontavious Wicks, as well.
So are we expecting a big spike in targets? I don't really think so. I think more likely than not, maybe we get a 5% increase or so,
Correct, yeah.
but nothing super significant. The other part of it is you look at this offense the entire time, they've had a bunch of different offensive coordinators. And I know you say, well, it's a new offensive coordinator this year. Maybe it's different. Well, in Jalen Hurts' entire career, and even though I've been a fan, he's been a great fantasy football quarterback, they don't pass the ball a ton.
Right.
Every single year under Jalen Hurts, they've never been in the top 20 in pass attempts per game. Not in the top 20.
I mean,
Not-
there's
not
a
even-
reason A.J. Brown was so butthurt all the time.
Right.
It's because he wasn't getting the ball enough because they weren't passing the ball.
So that's the thing. Like, it's just not an offense that lends itself to these high octane passing shootout type of games. It's just not the offense they tend to run.
And they have a really good defense, so they're usually they're usually going to run the ball late in the games as well. So for me, this is just more of like, I got DeVonta Smith. I'm trying to see if that hype window over the next month or so is going to open me better long term. And this falls to me as like a contender or a rebuild. Like either, obviously rebuild is a simple sell, but even as a contender, like I think this.
Just pivot off to another player.
Yeah, if I can get like an older player, somebody's like out on AJ Brown because he's 29 years old, I can get, even if I get like, for this, probably not if I'm a contender. I was thinking like Devontae Adams, but what that plus would be, but it'd have to be a very
It'd have to be
solid
a big plus with
it'd
his
be a
age
big
at
plus.
33.
I think I'd rather just hold out for the 27 first. If
What
that was
about
the case.
what about this one? This will be an interesting one because I know you don't love this other player either. T. Higgins. Would you rather have DeVonta Smith or T. Higgins?
I think I would lean T. Higgins, obviously because of the size. He's a little bit younger, and I still think T. Higgins ends up getting moved after this year, or even if something happens to the Bengals again where they're out of it, either this year. He does got a very tradable contract.
He does.
And they do have a lot we know that owner spending a lot of money. But again, at the same time, if Joe Burrow says, I feel like Joe Burrow has reins of that horse as well. So
We'll see.
I will tie, no more Myles Garrett in the AFC North. That's great news for Joe Burrow.
Burrow's thrilled.
He's a very happy camper, so that increases the odds of having a little bit more time as well to throw T. Higgins. So I would lean T. Higgins there, personally.
Yeah.
And it's just
Kind of
such
shows you
because,
what you're thinking then.
I like DeVonta Smith as DeVonta Smith falls in a category. Man, I really like to have him for my NFL team as an awesome number 2. Fantasy wise, he's a fine wide receiver 3 on my roster because I feel like that's his floor with the opportunity to give me you could say he finishes wide receiver 12. It wouldn't surprise me.
Sure.
Yeah, he does have a wide range of outcomes for sure. All right, so moving on to my guy here. I I end up going with a player also that I like, but I think there's just enough there are just enough question marks about this guy that it's got me a little bit nervous. But my guy is George Pickens. So right now he's going roughly 38th, so right around the top of the fourth. Mm-hmm. He's 25. He's only 25 years old, coming off a wide receiver 5 season last year in PPR. But I think last year's numbers were a bit deceptive and a bit of a perfect storm, right? So he's new to the team. Obviously, Jerry Jones loves shiny new toys and wants to make sure those kind of things get used, and especially when he goes out and pays kind of pennies. It wasn't a big time trade compensation package or anything to get him. And obviously, early on in the season, CeeDee Lamb, I think it was week 3, got a high ankle sprain. He missed basically that game and then 3 consecutive games after that. Really kind of gave George Pickens a great time to kind of establish himself and get in the offense and all that kind of stuff. He ended up getting, I think he was 8th last year in total targets. He had 137-ish. I think, yes, 137. And he wasn't even, if you look at the targets per game, he had 7.7. He didn't even beat CeeDee Lamb, who played in only 14 games. There was another game where he missed due to concussion later on in the season, who had 8.1. So they were close, but I think last year the 137 targets. This isn't the same offense that it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, CeeDee Lamb led the receiving. In 2023, he led the receiving with 181 targets. The year after that, in 2024, it was 152 targets. Mm-hmm. It was just with Schottenheimer coming in, there was a little bit less passing than there was with McCarthy. And he ended up getting the bulk of it due mostly, I think, to CeeDee Lamb getting injured. There's no way that we can say, hey, CeeDee Lamb's going to play all 17 games. And there's no way to say anyone's going to play all 17 games.
But missing a third's a major factor.
What'd you say?
I mean, missing 5 games is almost pretty much a third of a season.
Right. It is a big time factor. And I think that's what led to kind of some of his elevated status there. If both guys play all 17 games, I would think this is slightly leaning towards CeeDee Lamb instead of kind of the other way, which, CeeDee only had 117 or something last year as far as targets. So I just don't see an opportunity for this to be another top 5 finish for him. I think he's in that range of low end 1 to kind of middle tier 2, but I think this is the time for a very volatile player who's now also playing on the franchise tag, not necessarily happy about it.
Not happy. There's a report that came out today about that. Have you had any contact with George Pickens? And the report came back 1 word.
No. Right. He does. There's enough here that, last year he was super happy. He got traded out of the Steelers out of a bad situation. He goes to this really great situation that ended up immediately paying dividends because CeeDee Lamb isn't there and he's like this target monster, right? And now it's going to be a completely different situation where he's not reporting to any of the voluntary stuff. He's butthurt, and we've seen a bad attitude George Pickens play before, and it's not a great look.
It's not consistent. It's not. Yeah.
Its effort's not consistent.
Yeah.
Attitude's not consistent. A lot of things can go bad here, and I think there's just enough where you look on the trade finder, for example, and it's Pickens for Drake London. Like, sign me up all friggin' day to get the guy that's the number one target in his offense, who's just as young and doesn't have any of the issues that a George Pickens has. There was George Pickens for 26 first in Cortland Sutton. I don't love that one, depending on where that first is. If it's early enough where I'm getting a Carnell Tate, that's amazing. You know what I mean? And there's another one where it was Pickens and a 27 first for Genty, which, I mean, if you're in need for a running back, I think this is a perfect time to move a guy like Pickens before his.
That's a hefty price tag, right?
Of course it is, but
depends where you think that 27 first is going to be. But yeah,
it totally is.
It's fun to get in the trade finder and see stuff like that.
It is. So that's like the kind of values that I'm seeing, and at that price now, I think this is kind of his peak. I think I go out and sell a guy that could bottom out if everything goes the wrong way.
I was talking about George Pickens with some concern with Andrew a couple weeks ago, and one of the other things I noticed about him, it almost seemed like he kind of got figured out over the course of the season because his last 5 games were not great. He had one really good game in there, and then the rest kind of stunk. So 8.7, and this is in full PPR, 8.7, 6.3 at his 26-point game. but then 11.8 and 1.9.
Yes, remember CD was back.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like over the course of the year, like
Right.
it felt like the magic started to slowly slip away. He wasn't as reliable as he was early on. Like,
And I wonder if some of that goes into the negotiations that are kind of falling apart. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you started off hot, but look at the way you finished last year. I'm going to throw this franchise tag in. Let's see what you can do this year. And now he's all butthurt about it and not showing up to anything.
And I don't think they have any plans to re-sign him. I don't think there's any marriage there. So by the time he leaves, he's going to be
onto his third team. And really, he's starting to feel like this guy that no one's going to long-term like. You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, oh, let's see what you can do for me. And then he's going to prove it. And then, so I'm not feeling great about George Pickens' long-term value. So if you can sell him off a top 5 wide receiver finish and get anywhere close to value there, like a Drake London deal, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, and there's players like that come out with like the red flags that, Tyreek Hill had a lot of red flags, worked for a while. Stephon Diggs, red flags, worked for a long time. Doesn't mean it's always necessarily true, but anytime you could again, when you're looking for a long-term investment in your dynasty team, it's just nice to have a clean slate, right? Yep. And you never know. What can happen with anybody at any time. But for me, those deals you mentioned, George Pickens does open the door for that young, no red flag player, right? So if I get Ashton Genty for George Pickens, like that's something I want to knock on that door to see. Definitely with the way the running back landscape is. And same thing, like if it opens the door to get me a top 6, 27 first plus, like on top, like that's where I get real excited. And it could be the what's in the box, we trade this for it,
sure,
could turn into George Pickens kind of thing. But again, you're right. I mean, George Pickens outside of last year hasn't done anything at a high level, right? Like since then. And you're right, that perfect storm. Everything here for
wide receiver 40 finished, 30, 42, and then last year 5. So I mean, this was definitely the high water mark
by a lot.
And it came on the back of 9 touchdowns too. I forgot to even mention that, a 9 touchdown season, which previously 4, 5, 3, and then 9. So we know how non-sticky touchdowns is as a stat. So that's another reason that we should see or would expect to see a step back.
And you're coming off this perfect storm of extremely high year with being 25 years old. Because you're right, we have guys who are ready to step up. We have some guys that can step up this year to kind of establish themselves higher up in that dynasty hierarchy of receivers. With Jeremiah Smith coming in next year, bump him down. There's a potential of a guy like Cam Coleman bumping him down. So even after when you go into next year, the odds are, if you go off of CeeDee Lamb's healthy, odds are George Pickens isn't in the top 12. Probably pretty solidly. He's not in the top 12 of dynasty wide receivers. And right now, you're probably getting top 12 value for him. So, again, it doesn't even mean George. We all know, we've been saying coming out, George Pickens is a talented player.
Very talented.
There's just a lot of goofiness that comes with it and weirdness. And right now, that it's only translated to 1 year. So, again, it's just about capitalizing these windows of opportunity. This is like sometimes when a running back finishes as running back 1, and you're like, oh man, this might be a good chance to sell, like peak value. Right here, it's just about windows, and this is probably the highest that George Pickens will ever finish in fantasy football.
And there are certain things and certain players where you're like, do I think this is repeatable? I'm not trying to sell a high-end asset because I just want to sell a high-end asset and get a bunch of picks or whatever. Like, it's, okay, is this sustainable? Can they keep on doing this?
What are the odds?
If the answer is yes, then I have no desire to sell them. I want the high-end assets. But if I have some real question marks about that, give me a couple other assets that could reach that pinnacle and maybe become sustainable, But now I'm splitting that one asset into 2 or 3 assets, or a younger one that I like more, or whatever it is. So,
and where does he go after he leaves free agency? He's probably gonna go to a team that offers him the most money. He seems like that kind of guy. Like he's gonna go somewhere which is probably gonna be the best situation for him.
And that's what somebody was asking on that same YouTube video that I was talking with Andrew. They're like, what if George Pickens goes somewhere else? And somebody else, before I even had a chance to comment below, like, how many teams is it going to be better than where he's at in Dallas?
Right.
Like, good quarterback, lots of targets. Like, there's not many places you're going to be able to go where you're like, oh yeah, this is equal to or an upgrade over the Dallas situation. So
even after he leaves, if he has a good year this year, like say CD draws all the number one coverage. He's number two. Like if he goes somewhere else, he's getting the number one coverage. That changes things as well. So I do like that as a sell. Again, not a giveaway,
right?
But like, here, can I get a 2-for deal? Can I set myself up for the future? Even if I'm a contender, like, does this open the door? Like, can I give you George Pickens and a first for Jackson Smith and Jigba? Like something along those lines, a little bit more of a safety net kind of player. Puka's had some kind of crazy news about him right now. Does this open the door for like Puka Nacua? Something along those lines. So I like that sell a lot. Garrett, who do you got in the plate?
All right, so I have 2 players. One of them I like quite a bit. One of them I haven't been as big of a fan of. We'll start with the one here, and then that I wasn't as big of a fan of, and I'll do the other one at the end of the show. But for me, I'm going with Bryce Young. And I know some people are going to be like, Garrett, you've just never been a fan of Bryce Young. Like, of course you would sell Bryce Young.
Me either. Let's do it.
Well,
and he's low on the ADP for quarterbacks.
Right. So why sell somebody that like nobody's crazy high on and he hasn't done that much? Well, here's the thing. When you still look at the ADP, he's still in a range of other quarterbacks that I find pretty intriguing. Guys that I think have quite a bit of upside. Mainly the one that I really like to go to and kind of look at are guys like, well, he's not super far from Cam Ward. He's not super far. He's actually ahead of Daniel Jones, who I like quite a bit. Like, when I look at some of these players, so I'm like, why would I go after Bryce Young? And I think the argument for Bryce Young, at least in theory, is stability, right? He's a stable quarterback on a decent team, and they're getting more weapons for him. And you got Tetaroa, and they just brought in Brazel, and that offensive line's improved. And okay, I hear all of that, but here's the thing: in last year, what should have been kind of a banner year, it was year 3 now, so he's had plenty of time. Same coaches, same offense, same offensive coordinator. All of that being said, he still only averaged 14.3 points per game. That's good. And for his total season, he had 16 games. Total season, that put him as quarterback 19. Here's some of the guys that were ahead of him. Aaron Rodgers in 16 games was a
Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers.
41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Daniel Jones in 13 games was ahead of him. Jacoby Brissett in 14 games was ahead of him. Jordan Love in 15 games. Jackson Dart in 14 games. And I'm talking season total points. So if we were just then to go to, okay, well, how does he look in points per game amongst all of his peers? Now he's falling all the way down to, where's he at? 29th in
the only
points per game.
Only guys behind him are Cam Ward, the rookie who finished strong and probably at the end of the year maybe was a little bit higher. Geno Smith, who basically stinks and
he disappeared.
Completely disappeared. And Tua.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Carson Wentz in his time on points per game was better. Yeah. Tyler Shuck, Jameis Winston. And so that's the hard part.
He was better than J.J. McCarthy. 13.7.
Hey, beat him out.
Dude, ultimate nut kick. Was I wrong on that one?
We all
he
have
still
him.
has time.
He has time, maybe.
Time.
We'll see. So all of that being said is, I think part of the conversation too around, like I said, Bryce Young is the safety. There was a lot of question marks on whether or not he was even going to get that 5th year. Yeah. They ended up backing down and giving him the 5th year and whatnot. But the fact that would even be a question is weird. It should be slam dunk. He's our guy.
Yep.
When I look at this upcoming draft class and I look at the division that he's in, you could argue the Panthers win the division. And they could. They did it last year on, was it 8-9 season or 9-8 season? They just barely won it. But you look at all the other teams in that division, they're all the same kind of team. Yep. You look at Atlanta, you look at New Orleans, you look at Tampa Bay, and then the Carolina Panthers. All those teams are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What?
We could win a division 8-9.
Yeah. Any one of them could win it. There's no dominant team, but none of those teams are bad teams either.
Right.
So could they find themselves in a 6-win, 7-win season and all of a sudden right in line in a beautiful quarterback class, and then they're able to maybe get their guy? So I think
3 number 1 overall picks. It's like the worst quarterback division in the league, 3 number 1 overall picks.
Dude, it's interesting. So all of that being said, I just don't think he's as safe as people think he is, and I just don't know what his ceiling is. Actually, I think that's the scary part. I think I do know what a ceiling is.
I think we know what it's a very short ceiling.
And he doesn't need a lot of stealing.
Well, at 5'10", you don't need a lot. But that's the thing. Like, okay, maybe he improves a little bit because he's not a runner. He only gets 200 some yards a season. Maybe he improves to 16 points a game. You're still not even a quarterback one at that point. So that's the hard part for me is I think I would rather pull the old, hey, I'll give you a second in Bryce Young. Give me a first. And I'm going to try to re-roll in next year's draft.
You mentioned a name in there. I think that's really gettable with Bryce Young. Even you might have to throw a 27-second on top to do it, which I personally don't have a problem doing. It's Daniel Jones. That's the big target I'm trying to do to go get if I have Bryce Young. Like, hey, I'll give you Bryce Young for Daniel Jones. Hopefully, like people like to perceive stability gets it done. If they're like, no, I'll give you Bryce Young in a third. Maybe that gets it done. I think I would go potentially as high as a second if I wanted to compete. Like, and Bryce Young was like kind of like holding me down a little bit of my albatross because, I mean, he's fine. Like, again, if Bryce Young's your quarterback too and you have a really good team, you're fine. Like, you're fine. You're fine. But like, you want to do better.
He had the same amount of points per game as DeAndre Swift last year, for what it's worth.
Who's a buy for me?
A guy I don't mind, but that's the thing. Like, you're getting the same amount of points per game as DeAndre Swift.
No, I get that.
You want your quarterback to be a difference maker.
Exactly.
Your second quarterback to be a difference maker.
And Swift was not a running back one last year.
And the reason I'm about doing this now with that perceived stability is like, man, like you mentioned, there's a good chance like they don't make the playoffs. They have a top 16 pick. There's so many quarterbacks. They go ahead and admit their mistake. They go ahead and draft another quarterback, and that's it for Bryce Young. Because if Bryce Young moves on for Carolina, he's most likely not starting anybody. He's going to be one of those career backups, which is fine.
So for fantasy football, we want difference makers. In the NFL, especially at the quarterback positions,
they need them.
That's all the league is. That's why the Browns moved on from
Baker
Mayfield. They didn't think he was big enough difference maker. Like he's
traded
good,
Myles Garrett just recently
right.
to try to find that difference maker.
Right. I mean, so I think it is going to be just a matter of time before Carolina realizes this guy is good. He's fine. You know, they gave him the 5th-year option probably because they saw this draft and went, why the hell not? Let's just go for this for one more year. And if he's good, then if he improves, great. Then we have our guy. If not, then we just move on. And I really do think that's going to be the path for the Carolina Panthers.
And he's more of like a trade for like I mentioned, like a Daniel Jones. Like he's more of a Tyler Shuck. Even if you want to gamble on that, like
you want to gamble, yeah.
He's a player for player trade. You're not.
Would you rather him or Stroud?
I'd rather take C.J. Stroud. I think it's way more stability.
And that's the thing for me too, is like that's a team that I know is going to make the playoffs. They're going to be like involved. They're not going to be in a spot to take a quarterback.
He's going to get extended more likely than not. And even
he's
if
gotten his 5th year as well.
He would for sure get an opportunity somewhere else.
And his ADP is actually also almost in the exact same spot as Bryce Young's.
Is it really? He's not that bad. We've had a very massive effect on. I feel like. Oh yeah, we
were way down on him, and we were right. But then he comes to a point where it's like, okay, maybe C.D. Stroud's a buy again.
He's becoming a buy. Like that price. But again, I want to see what happens. Like I've said this. I know I've said this redundantly, but like the 27 class is going to shake up so many things. Like there's going to be so many. I feel like in that draft class, surprise. Like, oh wow, they took that play. Almost like when Jahmyr Gibbs went to the Lions. We're like, whoa, that's kind of surprising. Kind of like, oh, that team took Jeremiah Smith. They have this. Like, there's going to be more like
players that you think are safe are not.
Yeah, like safe. Kind of like when Kyler went to Arizona after they just took Josh Rosen like 6th overall, right? Like, oh, whoa. And the team's like, this player is a difference maker. This is how we
Atlanta drafted Michael Penix.
Exactly.
You know, they just signed Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Why would they do that?
Doesn't mean it all works out, but like that's how the NFL teams are going to view that. So like there might be a quarterback on the board, a receiver on the board, a running back on the board, and you're like, same thing. Like, oh, wow, dude. Like, again, throwing this way out there, but like, oh, wow, I thought Javonte Williams at 25 was safe. The Dallas Cowboys just took Keywan Lacey. You know, like
100% could happen.
Or like, man, this guy's like the number one, but like now they just took Jeremiah Smith. Like, oh no, like it could possibly happen.
Yep.
Like, you know, like Mason Taylor was a very nice upside tight end. Like, oh, they just took Kenyon Sadiq at 15th overall.
See ya.
And we see that happen all the time. So for me,
blocking for you. All right.
Like the only thing that would get me happy about like Bryce Young, if for some reason they make the playoffs again, and they just give him like an extension, and it's a kind of like one of those Fugazi, but it's a couple-year extension. He's not.
Sure.
He's obviously not making $100 million, but
even then, how many points per game for fantasy did he get that year? 15.5. Like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if he does become secure, it's still like, okay, I want him as my third quarterback, but I don't want to ever have to start him. I want him as my safety blanket in case my number 2 guy gets hurt.
He's a preferred quarterback 3 as a safety blanket, preferred if you have Bryce Young. But again, I mean, if he's your quarterback 2 and you build a team around him, a very strong
if you have Josh Allen, it's not as big of a deal.
he's capable. He's capable.
But listen, if you got a guy like Josh Allen, you want a guy. Do you really want Bryce Young as the backup? You're negating your advantage. You know what I mean? By getting a guy like that as your number 2.
Sure.
Like you can, you can mask him with that, but then you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like, no, go out and get somebody.
Go get Jared Goff.
Yes.
yeah, it's just always funny, right? Because like it depends on your quarterback too. But like even then, like Bryce Young's as bad as it gets, he's still getting you almost 15 points per game. Mm-hmm. Like but that's like for a quarterback, that's not good. You know, great quarterback. Then a really good quarterback, Josh Allen's going to do like 23 points per game,
right?
In that range. So it is an 8-point per game difference, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
But I think I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that like the support Bryce Young. That is just to support quarterbacks as a whole.
Sure.
We talked about this recently on the Nerd Show. Like people are like, wow, Rich, you really always have your quarterbacks in Superflex ranked so much higher. It's like because they're they just score. Even the worst ones are giving you high-end running back 2 numbers, are giving you low-end wide receiver 2 numbers. Like you're still putting those guys in over a lot of other positions, unless they're like running back 1s, wide receiver 1s. Like even a low-end quarterback 2 is still a top 75 overall scorer somewhere in that range. So they're still valuable assets. So
real quick before we move on, this Mason Taylor talk got me thinking. Should we start a points per block league? get a little
points
extra
per
scoring
pancake?
here? Yeah, points per pancake. PPP.
yeah, like, does a chip block count as a half block?
I don't
It's
know.
got to be a full block, 2 hands, and not your shoulder.
I think a pancake goes for 3, right? And then
Points per pancake league.
Dude, I just took this full back. 4th round.
I think we can get wild with this guy, so I think this will be fun.
It's all possible.
Great pass blocking running backs could really,
Dude, wide receivers for the Rams out there blocking.
There you go.
Yeah, those guys, they love them,
I can
man.
see Scott Fish putting in the Scott Fish Bowl for sure. They always got kind of crazy, weird rules in there. And speaking of Scott Fish Bowl, here we are halfway through the show. Again, if you are not aware of the Scott Fish Bowl, just Google Scott Fish Bowl and you'll see how massive it is. It's a real fun opportunity for a really good cause to raise money for kids in good foundations across the United States. And it's the largest fantasy tournament out there with over 5,000 players, and you're playing for the ultimate bragging rights, right? It really is a lot of fun. The scoring format's fun. Your leagues are fun. And who you get to play against, which again, it's like everybody in the business is in here and trying to compete. And when you win this, like you have the ultimate bragging rights. Like who'd you beat in fantasy? Like, I beat Matthew Berry, I beat Rich Dotson, I beat, JJ Zacharyson, Matt Harmon, like all those guys, right? So for us, the way I was like trying to think about this is for this giveaway, just encourage people to get into the Nerd Herd, right? Like, hey man, how do I get people to experience this awesome app, which is Dynasty GM? With all the tools in there, all our rookie content, all the film room, to be a Nerd Herd member. So what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody an opportunity to get 25% off your membership, right? It's Dynasty Hot Boy Summer. This is, not a lot of people are signing up for Dynasty memberships in June and July. Like that's like, realistically.
They get excited at the draft and when the season starts.
Yeah, June and July, a lot of people take a little time off from their Dynasty teams, right? So we're here to encourage.
They definitely shouldn't.
We want to encourage everybody to kind of tell a friend. Because you guys already know the goodness in there. Or maybe somebody's like, listen, I get this too. Like you really enjoy the podcast because we have way more listeners than we have subscribers. That's just clear as day. We have people enjoy the show. So, and I get it. Some people are like, dude, I'm not paying for a service. Like, dude, I'm just listen to this, take my own notes. Like, I don't need tools, So I get that too. But hey, support the homies, right? Like, support the cause. Buy me a cup of dude, 1 cup of coffee a month. That's it. That's all I ask for. You and I sit down in our pretend little head of yours.
Your head's hopefully real.
Hopefully your head's real, and maybe we're just
you're listening to
we're pretending
a pretend room in your head. How
you're
about
listening to me talk.
Yeah.
You're talking back. I just can't hear you.
Yeah.
But if we have a Discord channel when you're a Nerd member, you can put it in there. I still probably won't hear you.
But I might.
But Garret will, and the rest of the Nerd Herd will. So, look at it for a good cause. Support the homies. If you use the code SFB, which is Scott Fish Bowl, SFB26, It's going to give you 25% off, right? That's a big discount. That's a really,
It is.
It's one of our biggest discounts. I asked for this personally. I was like, hey, I need a
You did.
promo code for 25%
Saw
off.
it on Teams. You were excited.
Which is normally we don't do that much off. But I was like, dude, what's what's me giving back a cup of coffee or two, right? That's probably a couple cups of coffee. Mm-hmm. So they use FFB26 and you convince somebody to do it. What
SFB.
What'd I say?
FF.
SFB. Yeah. Scott Fishbowl. Use like those letters, 26. You use that promo code. I will get sent the emails who use that promo code. I will email you.
The code is SFB26. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the code. I will email you. Hey, who is your referral? If you're just taking advantage of this awesome discount and you're like, the referral's me, I will give you 2 entries into our draw. We're going to do this for 2 weeks. 5 total players getting Scott Fishbowl.
We would appreciate a new name, though, right? For that referral.
Yes.
Yes.
But
right.
if you give it to your buddy and convince them, when I email them, I'm like, hey, who's your referral? I'm like, oh, Matt O'Hara gave me the correct code to sign up. Sure. I will put his name in the drawn and your name into the drawn.
Both get in.
For Scott Fishbowl.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. So SFB 26, it gets you 2 entries into the drawn.
They could be both for you, or
for
one
you?
for you, one for a friend.
Yeah. And listen, I know some people are probably listening like, dude, I just want to get a good chance of getting Scott Fishbowl. I'm going to join
double
and
my
get a
chances.
double entry and get my 25% off. I've been borderline signing up. Now I'm going to do it. This is the edge I needed. You got me there. You pinched me in the good spots, which would be your Tookus.
Let's not go to the Nurples. Come on. Move on.
Always back to the nips. Such a very sensitive area. So SFB 26, 25% off. And that's your opportunity to get Scott Fishbowl. That's what we're doing. We're whoring ourselves out there. And then leave a rating and review. Because if you're a Nerd member, you already know we're also giving 5. You could double dip here.
If you're a Nerd Herd member.
If you're a Nerd Herd member, on the last Nerd Herd show, sometimes, it's Dynasty Hot Boys Summer. It's easier to skip some episodes here or there. If you're a Nerd Herd member, go back and listen to the last show. We're giving 5 spots away there as well to the Nerd Herd members.
This is true.
So if you do join, you get access to the Nerd Herd show. You can get 2 entries there. You can go back to the Nerd Herd episode.
Listen to that.
Listen to that. You get a 3rd entry into the Scott Fishbowl. And listen, we've got a couple entries in there.
That's called triple dip.
I'll say this right now for people who've listened to the Nerd Herd show. Right now, there's only 5 people that respond. Now, obviously, that show just came out the other day. 5 people responded. Those people are all in the Scott Fishbowl.
As of right now?
As of right now.
As of right now, if no one else.
Because there's no one else? Yeah.
Yeah. So you know if you're out there.
You know if you know.
You know if you're listening.
So if you're one of those 5, go to other people's phone and delete the Nerd Herd episode.
No,
don't do that. Don't do that.
So that's your opportunity getting the Scott Fishbowl and also supporting a really good cause their way and supporting a good cause my way. So I keep paying these developers to build these dope ass tools.
That's right.
To make you sweet ass
Stuff.
I don't know.
All right. Don't forget about myffpc.com as well. MyFFPC. All the orphans are gone. Sorry, Annie is no longer available. But
Annie, are you okay?
Are you okay, Annie?
But you can join a startup there. And there's a bunch of unique startups, a bunch of different levels as far as like, hey, I just want a $100 league. That's plenty for me. And some of you guys might be like, hey, I would like to play for like 2K.
Level up.
Yeah. I want to play some like serious fantasy football. I want to like chance not being able to pay my bills if I don't win.
I'm in a draft right now on myffpc.com. I'm playing in the Big Gorilla.
The Big Gorilla. Maybe enter and then you can play against Rich.
Trying to win $1 million, baby.
Nice.
There you go. So myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. Use that promo code NERDS. We're going to give you $25 off your entry. That's $25 off your entry. myffpc.com.
All right.
Nerds.
So my next sell is somebody who I've been saying sell all over the place. Some to be, this time I have notes on it. Usually it's just like, this is why I'm selling. And
this time
I really thought like his ADP and his value was kind of getting out of hand. I was like, dude, like you got to sell now. It can't get higher. So the reason I'm picking him now is it actually got higher.
Keeps going up.
Because the last week the head coach was like, I'm all in on this player.
Oh boy, I know who this is.
It's Luther Burden.
Yep.
Like,
has there been more hype player this offseason?
I mean, dude, in the offseason.
This offseason?
Kyle Pitts was the most hyped player.
I'm talking about this
offseason.
This offseason. Has there been a more hype?
I really don't think there is.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think so.
He is the creme de la creme of like value right now. I don't see how you can't get a 27 first for Luther Burden.
Agreed.
You can.
And I am all over that. Like,
Tell us why, Rich.
Listen, if you Burns, I'm not saying he's not a talented football player, right? Like his yards per route run led all rookies in 2025. He had one of the better marks in the entire league there. But there's a difference between a good player, definitely on an NFL roster, and the dynasty value of a player. To me, I don't view Luther Burden. And I'm going to say this too, like Luther Burden can easily, like this is not a soapbox I'm standing on, like Luther Burden can't come out and then he's like a consistent wide receiver one. Like, is that a realm of possibility in some kind of multiverse? For sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. I don't think it's going to happen. Burden only started 5 of his 15 appearances as a rookie. He had a mere 41% route share across those 15 games, 41% route share as the supposed wide receiver 3 breakthrough player on that roster. But remember, like, he really didn't break through until like Rome Odunze went down. He started to see more targets on there. And before that happened, this is a lot of the reason why. Rome Odunze led the Bears in targets the first half of the season before getting hurt before week 9. Odunze was top 10 in fantasy points per game, was looking like a true wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. This guy who's top 10 NFL draft pedigree as well. And you can say, oh, well, it's a new, Rome was there when Ben Johnson was there. Well, Ryan Poles is the one that drafted him.
Yeah,
he's still
same GM.
He's still there. So those opportunities for Burden only opened up when Odunze went down. He's healthy for 2026. He's looking good. He's growing his hair out. It looks like a dominant wide receiver 1. And
he was even used in their schedule release video.
What?
So you take
proof.
You take Rome Odunze by himself, who led that team in targets to begin with. Like, okay, like that's a competition. There's also another major competition factor here as well, and that goes by the name
some love
of Colston Loveland. So this is the part of the Luther Burden story that I think that dynasty managers are really criminally underselling, right? Over Chicago's last 4 games, 2 regular season, 2 playoff appearances, Ben Johnson dove in with extra love for Colston Loveland. He averaged 12 targets a game, 7 catches, and 94.5 receiving yards per game with a pair of touchdowns. In a playoff game against the Packers alone, Loveland was targeted 15 times
that's
in one game.
Eating right there, man.
To a tight end. So when you look at Loveland's 25 postseason targets, it only trailed Puka Nacua among all players at all.
Ooh.
More than any tight end saw in any 2-game stretch in a year where Trey McBride broke the all-time tight end record for receptions. So this was a historically dominant target share for Colston Loveland, who, again, what does he have? Top 10 NFL draft. Or did he go 12 somewhere in there? Or was it?
No, Colston Loveland was in the top 10.
Oh, yeah,
I think
it was
10.
Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren that
okay.
was outside.
Yeah, I apologize. So, again, top 10 there when they already had Cole Kmet on the roster. So, Ben Johnson clearly saw a player that he can use in his offense. And listen, historically, when we look at that data, in Detroit, Ben Johnson's Lions used 12 personnel at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL at 32.2% of their plays. Sam Laporta, as a rookie, was targeted 120 times in that offense, had 89 catches, 89 yards, turned into the second most touchdowns ever by a rookie tight end. So, all signs to me, when you have 2 players that have top 10 NFL draft pedigree on an explosive offense, Luther Burden, to me, slides in as the more likely than not 3rd option. I think Luther Burden slides into a player that's really good for his NFL team, maybe into the lines of like even like his ceiling's like a DeVonta Smith, like almost like last year.
Yeah,
I think Luther Burden is closer to a wide receiver 3 than he's even near a wide receiver 1, and people are on that hype train right now. And if I can get 27 first for Luther Burden, I would be unbelievably ecstatic. If I can get Luther Burden for George Pickens, I would do that. I am so far out on Luther Burden's perceived value that when I think I'm going to get it back, like I am actively 100%, if I had any shares, which I did last year, and I sold them for Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm 100% selling. Like some of these guys, like maybe here. This window, like I'm selling Luther Burden 100%. Like there's not even one case where like I'm gonna hold on to see if it can happen, because I think it's that unlikely to happen to turn into his perceived value. I think when it's all said and done, I don't think you'll be able to get a first after the season for him at all, because it's gonna be the Rome Odunze and Colston Loveland show without barring injury. We talked about, earlier in the show, and I've been talking about for a while, like this 27 class is really going to shake things up and push a lot of players down.
It's true.
He will slide down there, with the mention of other players really stepping up as well when it comes from a wide receiver standpoint. So to me, I have not seen a player dominate the news as often as I can in the Dynasty realm as Luther Burden. For at least when Kyle Pitts did it, like he was coming off one of the best rookie years, tight end years ever. Like over 1,000-yard receiving, and that was requiring 3 first-round picks. Luther Burden is just a player who's going to get you in the 27 door, which is, again, that is really hard to do. It's like that Myles Garrett. Like nobody's trading for Myles Garrett. You couldn't get in the door, but once you threw Jared Verse in the conversation, like, oh, now we're talking.
Now we can have a conversation.
If I can use Luther Burden for a 27 first, if I can use Luther Burden to give me Garrett Wilson, like that,
sure.
like a player along those lines where I can make a lateral move to I think is a significantly better player. Like, hey, you got to give me like Luther Burden in a second for Garrett Wilson. Sold. Done. I do think he has that kind of opportunity right now. I should have jumped into Dynasty GM and looked at the trade finder beforehand, because I'm sure there's probably some ludicrous trades. But I think the big news, again, this is a news thing. Just last week comes out of Ben Johnson on OTAs. Like, I'm in on buying stock. Like, yeah. Dude, it's like what Dynasty owner is he friends with trying to make a sell? Like, what is going on here? Like, it's just like everything is like just built up to this moment. Yeah. Like I don't see a path for him living up to this momentum.
It does feel like the hype train's getting a little bit out of control with this guy. To your point, Rich, I mean, where do we expect he's going to line up in the slot, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Rome Odunze on the outside. I don't even know who the other guy is on the team who'd be the other outside wide receiver. But Loveland, like where's he falling in the pecking order between Loveland and Odunze? DeAndre Swift, he catches passes pretty nicely out of the backfield as well. So like, how much work is there going to be in order to support a guy like Luther Burden to push him to where he needs to be to kind of validate the hype that's going on right now? He would have to be in the 120, 130 target range. I just don't feel like there's that amount out. The volume, I don't think, is there for him.
Yeah, because Ben Johnson's still going to run the football too. That's the thing. This isn't like just a crazy run or pass-heavy offense. They're going to still run the ball, and they've got 2 capable running backs in order to do it. So, and Rich, maybe you said this and I missed it, but in case you didn't, or in case the people out there did miss this, Luther Burden, according to our ADP right now, is actually higher in ADP than Rome Odunze.
Yeah, that's
like,
yeah.
So you could even just straight up just take the guy that I would assume is going to have more targets in this really good offense.
And listen, if Luther is the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, that does make a little bit more sense. I don't like, from watching what he did weeks 1 through 9 and watching his college tape, I don't see how that's possible. Like people are out here like Rome just sucks. Like that's it. Oh, Rome didn't hit the ground running as a dominant wide receiver 1 in his first year and a half. Last year before he got hurt, that's what he was doing. Like in year 2, he was starting to say, "Oh, this is really good value." You could have bought Rome.
Great.
I think there's enough. I think there's enough out there about Rome Odunze that there's enough people out there thinking, "Hey, is he ever going to develop?" Right? And it's even creeping into my mind. I mean, so I get those questions, but if I'm betting on one of those 2 guys to make it, it's Rome Odunze. It's not Luther Burden personally. Yeah. He's got more prototypical size. He moves really well. I think he's the guy that makes it before Burden. But I mean, I guess crazier things have happened. That's why he's an interesting guy to discuss. I think it's too far. It's not that I totally discount Luther Burden, think he's not going to be something or can't be something, but I think right now the hype train's way out of control and everyone's getting way too ahead of themselves with Luther Burden. So if you can capitalize on that, that's perfect.
There's a player that I'm thinking like a deal that can get, again, I'm just thinking like deals that can make, and this is like obviously has to be the right situation, but kind of a mindset like somebody like, because Luther Burden really appeals to rebuilding teams, right? Because he's young. So, like, man, if I can get like a player like Jalen Waddle, and like, hey, I'll give you Luther Burden in my second for like Jalen Waddle and you're like 28 first, or even your 29 first.
I mean, Waddle's behind Burden and ADP.
Oh,
that's
for
why.
sure.
That's why he's getting.
He's saying
that's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
would get. Oh, got it.
You would get a first back.
yeah, like, can I give
You
can I-
get Waddle and the picks.
Yeah, because first of all, I think Waddle. I'll put myself out there. I think Waddle outscores Luther Burden in a full PPR league, probably by 50 points. Maybe that's a lot of points. So maybe like 30 points, like 30, 50 points. I think Waddle outproduces Luther Burden. Start there. So as a contender, I think he helps you more if you got a guy like Luther Burden on there.
It's a pretty good spot there in Denver. Pretty
It's
open.
a really good spot.
You know, other than Cortland Sutton's obviously there, but he's faded the past couple seasons.
In that offense, Cortland Sutton was almost a wide receiver one, pretty much.
Right.
So for me, I do think they're like, again, I'm just picking up one plan. Who's going to be in the right team to make that kind of situation on a team that's trying to rebuild. But like that, like then you throw your 27 second, which is coveted. You hope it's a late because you're a contender, and somehow you can squeeze like a first in there, like down the road, 28 or 29. Either way, like I'm happy because I get the better player. Tell me win now. Get a first down the road.
Here's a bunch of receivers that are within kind of 10 picks either way of Luther Burden at receiver. Ladd McConkey, Jordan Tyson, A.J. Brown, Romo Dunze, Mekhi Lemon, Marvin Harrison Jr., T. Higgins, Zay Flowers.
Every single one I want over Luther Burden. Even Zay Flowers is like Luther Burden's best case scenario. And for that to happen, he needs Colston Loveland and Romo Dunze get a head-on collision with each other. Because Zay Flowers is just a manufacturer of like being the number one only receiver on the roster, right? But and that's like his ceiling, like of a kind of player. And Zay Flowers, I like to take better than Luther Burden's coming out as well. And again, Luther Burden's not a scrub by any means. This is just the hype train is. I wish I had more Luther Burden shares
to move him,
so I can just move him, because these are like the dream scenarios for players that like when their value drastically outvalues what they've ever done and what they're likely to do. Like this is even like a Zay Flowers, who I'm worried about just because of the situation he's in. Like he's got two tremendous roadblocks in front of him with Romo Dunze and Colston Loveland. So love that.
All right. So moving on to my next sell here, and I'm going to end up going to the running back market here. And this is another, I mean, just like the first one, this isn't a player that I dislike. I'm kind of just nervous about what I'm hearing and what I'm reading. My guy is Bucky Irving. So he's going 53rd right now. So somewhere in the 5th round. He's only 23. He'll be 24 early on in the season here. But obviously last year, a bit of a disaster from an injury standpoint for him. Had shoulder surgery and the foot injury kind of happened simultaneously in week 4 last season. The foot, I think, wasn't as bothersome, and he kind of eventually got back from that. But the shoulder thing, he had to wear a harness basically all season. He was never quite right. And if you look at his numbers.
Quite right. Still not right.
I was getting there. Okay. I was getting there. I mean, his numbers took a huge dip from year 1 to year 2. He had 207 carries, 1,122 yards for a 5.4 yards per carry and 8 touchdowns as a rookie. He also had 52 targets, 47 receptions, 392 yards through the air. Last year, conversely, on 173 rush attempts, so not that much of a drop-off, 34 less rushes, and obviously seven less games. So that's, he when he was in there, he was rushing the ball quite a bit, probably more so than he was in his rookie season. He only had 588 yards for a 3.4 yards per attempt average and only 1 touchdown. And his receiving numbers went down significantly too. Obviously, that's due mostly to the missed time. 35 targets, 30 receptions, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. But what concerns me the most is obviously the fact that thing lingered throughout the entire season. Through the offseason, he didn't end up getting surgery till February on his shoulder. And now there's reports coming out that, hopefully he's ready for training camp. Hopefully he's ready for training camp and stuff like this. So that part alone gives me pause and gives me a reason to go, hey, what can I get for this guy? I don't know if this shoulder thing. He's not a big guy, 195 pounds. It's like he came in. He was an electric guy between the tackles. He has really good shiftiness. That's great. He still has that. But if he can't take the pounding in the NFL that's required, and he's going to take on this kind of injury already and kind of see a big step back in production, I'm worried. Then they get rid of Rachaad White, who's a pass catching specialist, and was kind of, everyone's like, yay, all right, now he's going to catch all the passes. Psych, here comes Kenneth Gainwell, who last year was 4th in receptions, and all the rest of the guys that are around him were all the number 1 back on their team. He's the highest rated guy that was split in time. It was Christian McCaffrey was above him, 102 receptions, Bijan Robinson, 79 receptions, Jahmyr Gibbs, 77, then Kenneth Gainwell, 73. And even below him, Chase Brown, Devon Achane, and Genty are the next guys in line. So no one around him, like everyone around him is the legit number 1 option in the offense. So where Bucky had the most value was the fact that he was rushing through between the tackles and taking that, and taking that bull by the horns in his rookie season, which I already have questions whether or not that was an aberration, and the fact that he was catching a ton of passes. They bring in this guy, his role. He can run between the tackles, Kenneth Gainwell, and he catches a ton of passes. So this has got me so nervous that I was like, all right, let me at least check to see what kind of compensation I'm seeing in the trade finder. And right off the bat, 28 first. Ooh, that gets me excited. 26 first, depending on where it's at. 27 first was in there as well. Ding, 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 ding. I know that gets rich 6 to midnight right there. If you can unload a running back who we always talk about it all the time, how these are the kind of players that can be flash and pan. Yep. You got to get out from underneath these guys. He's not a generational guy that's going to be a 7, 8, 9 year guy. He was already on my short list of guys, 2 to 3 year window. Mm-hmm. Whenever you get a chance, sell. And right now he feels so much like a sell. Get out and get a 27 first. I'm totally fine with that. There was even a trade in there that I felt okay about, 20 Irving and a 28 first for a guy like Kenneth Walker, who just went to a really great situation. And if you're in a championship window, I would feel that's the kind of move that I would want to make in order to kind of really shore up my running back situation. Because you're not even getting up your 27, you're giving up 28 first. And you're going to get a guy that's really kind of running the show there in a great offense in Kansas City.
Yeah, for me, I'm 100% on board with this. And I think the biggest, there's 2 issues that I really have. One, it was the contract. Like $7 million a year, $14 million contract. Like over 12 of that is guaranteed for Gainwell. Yeah. So like a legit contract. It's not like he's coming in to just be the backup. Like, you pay somebody that kind of money, they're coming in to play.
Yes.
They're not coming in to be a backup. The second part about it is if they had signed Isaiah Pacheco or they had signed Brian Robinson or somebody like that, I would feel very different because they are taking first and second down grinder type work, whatever.
Which is probably what he needs relieved from him, to be honest.
Because he's a 205-pound running back. Yeah. No, they bring in a guy that does the same things. Right. So that concerns me too, is his most valuable asset going to be diminished a little bit, and that's concerning.
Well, I mean, some teams do throw in first and second down to running backs, but you're right, third down is an ideal situation. And, Bucky, he fits the mold of a sell a while ago, right?
And we were.
A player that when we scouted, we weren't like as high as some other people were. Thought we possibly missed one there because he comes in. And, like, listen, this is a tale as old as time. I've been doing this podcast now for 12 years. And there's players that we're down on, and they come out and they have a good year, like the Juju Smith-Schusters, the James Robinsons, and we're like, sell. And people are like, oh, you guys are idiots. And then they don't do anything ever again, right? And Bucky's kind of in that category too. And what's weird is, Matt, as well, is like I thought like Bucky would be a really hard sell because I feel like everybody would be down because like everyone's like, yeah, he didn't do anything at all last year. Then they signed Kenneth Gainwell. He still holds some value there. His ADP hasn't jumped. And for example, now I did this right before that news broke. On May 25th, I sold my Bucky Irving share with Mike Evans to a contender. And I got Rashid Shaheed, Kyle Monangai, a 29 first and second.
Love it.
Yep.
Loved it. Like I couldn't get Bucky off. And I have one more Bucky share that I've been trying to sell.
even if you just
It's
want to
Nerd Herd League, so it's a little bit harder.
bit harder
I keep
in those
saying,
leagues,
we
yep.
make these examples.
even if you just want to go the guys right behind him, if you're a rebuilder, okay, Quinshon Judkins is right behind him.
Oh,
I'd much rather have Quinshon Judkins.
Easy.
If you're a contender, Saquon Barkley's right behind him. I'd rather just it's a shorter window, but to be a contender.
I love that move because again going back to my DeVonta Smith, I think Saquon bounces back this year, and I think Saquon does so well this year that he will hold value mid-season from a contender to open the 27 first window.
I can see that as well. All right, let's wrap things up here on this episode. I'm going to go with a guy. I said earlier I was going with a guy that I didn't absolutely love. I'm now going to a guy that has been one of my favorite players for a long time. Even since he came out, he was a player that I talked very highly of. I wanted to draft him early, but it's all about timing. It's not necessarily about I like this guy, I don't like this guy. It's where is their value and do I think it's sustainable? So that's where I'm at right now with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is officially going to be my sell. Right now he's going at the tail end of the second round according to our ADP. But I think more often than not, I'm seeing him go in the third round. But either way, right now, he's going, in that type of range, into the second, into the third. So here's the thing. Jonathan Taylor's 27 years old. You get to this age and you have to start asking yourself, okay, is he a traditional running back where this is the end of days? Or is he the outlier where Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry type of player? And this is going to sound a little bit of like a cop-out, but I don't know. I don't know that I can say confidently either way. So if I am undecided on that, I would rather err on the side of getting something now while I can, as opposed to getting stuck with the bag. But my biggest concern out of all of it, and this is why I'm going this direction, is last year, Jonathan Taylor had a ridiculous load as far as touch load.
Touch load.
Workload.
That thing's ridiculous.
Terrible workload. Heard it as I said it and couldn't take it back. All right.
Touch
terrible,
load. Ladies and gentlemen, touch load.
Terrible. A lot of
That's a ridiculous load. Why did I do that?
Yeah, why did you?
I don't know. Washing machine noise.
You're so soggy now.
Why did I do that?
All right.
I'm soaking wet.
All right, let's get back to the touch load.
All right,
Go ahead,
so-
Garret.
That's a big load of water.
Lots of carries and pass catches
sir.
last year. But when you look at that historically, when you look at players that we've had since in the past decade, we have had 11 players that have had more than 370 touches as far as receiving game and carries combined.
Right.
Of all of those players, let me read to you what they did the following year. Christian McCaffrey in 2025, we don't know. We're going to have to wait and see.
Because it was like 412 or something
Yeah,
ridiculous.
absurd workload. But Christian McCaffrey also in 2019 had 403. The following year, he only played like 3 games, so he's running back 53. Le'Veon Bell in 2017, he didn't even play in 2018. Derrick Henry, 397. He was running back 16 that following year. Josh Jacobs, running back 24 after that. Running back 14 for Najee Harris. The only one that repeated inside a running back one range was Ezekiel Elliott. He did that in 2018, but that was after his age 23 season.
Yeah.
So real young pup being able to kind of make that happen. Then you also have Saquon Barkley, running back, and that was 2 years ago. He ended up being running back 13 this year. David Johnson, running back 119. And then Jonathan Taylor actually already had this happen the following year. He was running back 34.
So history on this player would tell you that he's going to take a step back. Same with Christian McCaffrey as well.
Exactly. And you even look the year before, he didn't quite get to this workload, but he had a bunch of touches the year before. He had over 300 attempts plus what he did in the air.
So a big touch load 2 years in a row.
Exactly. Then the last thing for me is Jonathan Taylor averaged 21 points per game last season. Obviously incredible. Really, really good. But here's what he did after the bye. And this would have been from week 11 on. So starting in week 12.
And to be fair, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones was
Deceased.
gone. Daniel Jones only played like 2 or 3 of these games. I think he left week 13 or 14. Yeah. But all that being said, 8.6, 15.1, 11.4, 13.1, 16.9, 17.4, 5.9. He never even hit what his average over the course of the season of 21.3 points. He never even hit his average the rest of the season.
It's because the Colts got up. The Colts were so far ahead early on those first 7-8 games. They were scoring so many points.
Yep.
They were scoring so many points. They were just running the ball a lot there at the end. So, listen, I don't mind this but I also think it's kind of like a cut and dry kind of sell because, obviously, if you're not a contender, you're selling Jonathan Taylor. If you are a contender,
his ADP is still so high.
If you are a contender, what are you doing?
If I'm a contender and I can move to a lateral move or get somebody plus, I'm more than willing to do that. So if I were to looking at the ADP right now, Omari and Hampton actually isn't super far off. Could I give Jonathan Taylor plus to get Omari and Hampton, get into that range, Devon H, and can I give a little bit plus to move?
Now you're working with a 23, 24-year-old guy.
Exactly. Or if I need to move down.
Move that. It's with that historical data. These are tough things to do when you're a contender, right? You hear this I'm selling, dude, I'm trying to contend. This is where you try to get a little savvy. I like to, one of my favorite things to do here when I'm a contender, if my team can handle the loss, right? I like to find players that say I think a perfect example is a guy like Kenneth Gainwell. I think Kenneth Gainwell is one of the best buys in Dynasty. I've said this multiple times. I think, if Kenneth Gainwell kind of proves me right early on, say by week 3, he's he's averaging 13 points per game. And that's good enough for my team. My favorite move to get off of there is, and again, this is what do you do if you want to move and you're a contender, you still want to contend? Mm-hmm. You see a player like Kenneth Gainwell producing, okay, it's 3 games in. I feel like this is going to be pretty steady. It's something we've talked about going all the way back to April, right? About a guy like Kenneth Gainwell or in June. And now I'm kind of seeing it come to fruition. So I believe in a little bit. Oh, I can move Jonathan Taylor, who more likely than not will start the season hot if he doesn't do anything. I can get Kenneth Gainwell in a plus first.
Right. Well, I think you could even shoot higher than that. I think you could go all the way down to guys that are right now ADP in the 60s. Guys like Javonte Williams, Cam Scatterbu, Travis Etienne. You might be able to get a first on top of those guys.
I would take a first. And
I don't know if it would be 27 first. It might have to be 28.
Don't have, again.
But
let's make this clear for the rest of the show. When we say first going forward, assume we're talking about 28 first, unless we say 28-7 first.
Yeah.
Anytime we mention get a first, assume it's 28 because 27.
But would you guys do that? Would you take Scatterbu, Williams, or Etienne
100%
plus the 28 first? I think that's a realistic move if you can't get into Omarian and Etienne and those guys.
Dude, you're talking 24 years old, 25 years old, then same age.
Yep.
In Etienne. 100% if I'm getting a first on top.
You're getting first on top of that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the easiest. Again, I know it sounds crazy, that's an easy trade for me. But for me, that's the easiest trade I could make if I have a guy like Jonathan Taylor. Because I don't think Jonathan Taylor, honestly, is that different than Saquon Barkley. And everybody would do it for Barkley, right? Because again, I think it flips the script. Jonathan Taylor's kind of been almost an every year player for ADP roller coaster. Barkley's kind of lived in that motion a little bit. I do think Barkley comes back this year and has a really good year. Who didn't have a terrible year last year, by the way, either Barkley. But I think he increases his value. So if I can get Barkley a plus, and that plus isn't going to be draft cap. They have a receiver I need, a Mike Evans, right?
Sure.
Or something along those lines. They're overloaded receiver. They drafted another one. They got Mike Evans. Hey, I'll give you Jonathan Taylor for Barkley and Mike Evans.
Give me Terry McLaurin, a little older guy.
Dude,
but
perfect. Another perfect example of a Terry McLaurin. Give me that 30-year-old receiver to help me win now in that window where I don't need first draft capital. So sometimes it's just it's so easy to say draft capital because draft capital is so broad. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's specific players, and we usually target those guys in season. But I love the addition as again, if I'm win now, right now, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, guys that
give me DJ Moore and Cam Scatterbu, and I'm thrilled.
Dude, DJ Moore, same thing. Yeah. A guy with some longevity there. So I like that too. He's a great obviously if you're not contending, it's easy to say, but as a contender, what do you do if you're?
And I think he's the nice middle ground where you can potentially tier up or tier down. You can kind of go either way. Some guys, it's you only have one direction you can really go. I think he's good enough to at least open the conversations of those higher ups.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think he opens the door at all. If you have Jeremiah Love, you have the 1-1, you have zero interest. Devon Achane, maybe he opens the door. Maybe
people are low on Achane.
So maybe Achane opens the door, but like if you give us something on top of it,
say, maybe not Genty or Love, but I think Hampton and Achane, I think you can.
Yeah, if you're knocking on the door of like Bijan,
not those guys.
Well, how many people above him are there? There's not that many people.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going the very next tier.
I think even Hampton would be hard to get for him.
Maybe people are low on Hampton for some reason. I'm really high on him.
Listen, it's because Hampton still has to prove it, right? Like his college tape was good. It wasn't great.
That's the thing. If you're a contender with Hampton, you might be looking at Jonathan Taylor going, I know what I'm going to get out of this guy. I know what I can expect. I don't know what I'm going to get out of this young guy. And that would be the situation where you could tear up to a Hampton.
I know this sounds gross, but if you put a gun to my head and my life was on the line, and you're like, say Hampton's at running back, where's he at? ADP 6?
He's running back 6, yep.
Okay. If Hampton's going to go up in value or down in value, I would instantaneously say down in value.
Hampton.
Gun to my head.
Okay.
Could he go up? For sure. But again, the guys ahead of him, like Bijan, they're not going down no matter what. Bijan, Gibbs. So you're talking about like,
I guess maybe at the position, maybe,
Love,
but I think overall he still has room to go up.
And that's before the 27 class comes in because those guys have pushed him down. I just said, if I had to pick one, my life depended on it.
So maybe somebody could get Hampton from you with Jonathan Taylor.
To be fair, like honestly, to be fair, if you wanted to, like if you want to be like right more than you're wrong, just shit on everybody. And your odds are better.
Let's say this was an option.
You're eventually going to be right on everyone.
He's going to be worse. His ADP is going to go down.
It's eventually going to be right.
It's going to go down. I promise you. It will. Would you do so? Let's say someone was like, okay, I'm iffy on the Taylor for Hampton deal. You give me Jonathan Taylor in your 28 first. I'll give you Hampton in my 28 second. Would you do that?
So I give...
Yeah, you lost me too. What happened?
Taylor in the first
for
Hampton in the second.
Oh, that's not too bad. I would probably do that. You're getting younger.
You're getting a lot younger. I think that's the kind of deal of how you can tier up.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that opens the door a little. I'm a little bit worried on that.
Yeah.
Even then,
I think that's close. I think that's a close trade that might get done.
2 years down the road first. I've got 2 seconds. I could figure it out. Yeah. Okay. I'd be interested. All right.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Adios.